doing well. So before we get started, this is an unusual topic in the series, Back to School series. This is more about prioritizing your career, you as a multifamily investor, and your family. And so I think a lot of people will be really excited to see how you have, gone through this process and built your foundational to be successful in this. And I hope you can share that wisdom. So for this topic of balancing family and business and your career in real estate, you're going to be with a professor. So if that's all right with you, we'll get class started.
Hey, I like it, man. I've been waiting for somebody to call me a professor for a long time, dude. I'm pumped.
Yeah, you don't need a degree in this school, so.
Thank goodness.
So as we go into the topic, can you give maybe just a 3-minute story of how you got to be where you are now, and the path that you took? Yeah,
man. So first, I have to tell you, I am just honored and excited to be on the show, and that's for real. Especially talking about business and family. I talk about real estate all the time. I mean, that is every day I talk about real estate, but my greatest passion is my family. And so, to be asked to talk about that and how I balance all those things, I sincerely, I'm excited to talk about it. It's something I'm super grateful for. So thank you for the opportunity, first off, sincerely.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So a little bit of background. My dad was, and why I guess family is so important to me, and probably why you asked me to talk about this. The background, I would say my dad was a clinical social worker. He started a business when I was 11 or 12 years old, something like that, which, that resulted in a little bit more income for our family, which, seemed like a blessing in the short term, but, within a few years, had really torn our family apart. And there's a reason behind that, right? My dad's intentions, I think this is a learning lesson for all of us. My dad's intentions, I sincerely feel like they were pure, right? But his priorities, I think, were cloudy, right? And it's easy to get that way, which that ultimately resulted in him, leaving the country, leaving my mom to raise 4 kids on her own, which had a financial impact, right? We definitely struggled, which made me super curious about how to obtain wealth and, financial security. I saw how devastating, financial insecurity could be. But the greatest impact for me, sincerely, was it didn't come from lack of funds, right? It came from lack of time with my dad. I love him. He was my coach and my mentor and my soundboard, and he's somebody that I needed in my life. And I'll never forget the day that. And I don't know if you thought that I was going to go back this far, but it
let's do it.
Okay, it's rooted in everything. I'll never forget the day that he told me that he was moving out of the country, and I remember I said something along the lines of but dude, I'm just I love sports. Okay, and I love football, baseball, and I was like, man, I'm just getting into the best part. You've been my coach, and now I'm in 8th, 9th grade, and I'm getting into the best part, and you're gonna miss it. And I remember his reaction. He just kind of laughed, right? And he was like, "Oh, son, I'll be back before you know it, right?" But he never made it back, right? I don't know if he's even lived in the country since then, and I'm grateful for all that. That's not a sob story. I'm sincerely, to my core, grateful for that, because those experiences created this rooted desire, right, to spend time with family and to create wealth and to be in a position to help other people, which is important. It's important. Those things have just been rooted in my life. There are so many people that helped us through that time. And I saw my dad, right? I saw what it was like to not have him there for those things. But I also saw the impact that that's had on him, right? I mean, I've seen the regret from that. You don't get those times back, And so it's almost overnight, I feel like, created this desire and focus and goal, right? To make sure that family is a priority. So with that, kind of in mind, I don't know if I've hit my 3-minute mark, but
No, keep going.
it created this, what I call a definite purpose, right? I mentioned that my dad's intentions when he went into the business were pure. And I believe that. I sincerely believe that to my core. Like, my dad is a great person, but intentions, right? Intentions can very easily become blurred, right? So, for example, my dad, when he went into the business, I guarantee that his goal was, or like his intention, I guess, right, was to create this business to better the life of his family. But history has shown me that, a good intention doesn't necessarily get the results, right? It's not a definite purpose, right?
Yeah, they say that the road to hell is paved with good intentions sometimes.
I've never heard that quote, but that's solid.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I do, because here's the thing. Like, my definite purpose, if you were to ask me what my definite purpose is, to bring this, full circle, it's threefold, right? It is time with family. Like, dude, I want to be there for everything, every dance recital, spelling bee, because I've seen both sides, right? And I want to provide my family the life that they deserve. I want to be able to not have to worry about financial matters, and then being in a position, to better the lives of those around me. So, but the most important part of that purpose is time with my family, because I can't provide the life that they deserve, and I can't better the lives of those around me if I'm never around, right? So that has rooted every decision, and I sincerely believe that is why I am where I'm at today, without a question. Like, anytime that I found myself being consumed by a business, I would course correct, right? There wasn't this internal battle about that. The decision for me was simple at that point. Like, if the opportunity had the potential to lead me to my definite major purpose, time with family, then I pursue. Well, first off, if it didn't have the opportunity to do that, then I didn't choose that. I chose another direction, right? There wasn't an internal battle. But on the other side, if I saw that an opportunity had the potential to get me to my definite major purpose, I put all my effort in direction of those opportunities. It made decision-making easier, in my opinion. So, full circle, multifamily, obviously, that's my business. My business is multifamily investing. That's what I do. And I clearly saw that had the potential to give me, passive income, time with family. And I put all, my direction in that, all my energy in that direction. And that's greatly benefited my family. So.
Yeah, man, there's a lot to dissect here. So let me.
I went off for a while, man. I apologize.
No, you're good. I resonate with that because, before this, I was doing management consulting. And just like you, I kind of saw the path of how I was going to be one day if I become a father and a husband, that I won't be there every single day because I'd be traveling all the time. And the fundamental reason I left was because I didn't want to make a career on an airplane 4 or 5 days out of the week. And just like you're growing up and you're saying, your father maybe wasn't there at all the time for all the events that you wanted to. So it seems like that made an impactful way of how you were going to look at your life moving forward and funnel every single decision. So walk me through in your 20s and all that. Maybe you felt a little void. You're like, I know kind of what I want. I know when to get married, have a family. What are you thinking as you want to provide for them, but you also want to, a love and family. So how are you going through your day to day and searching for that?
Yeah, good question, by the way. It's a great question. So so here's how this kind of, I guess, the course happened, right? There's these pivotal moments in our lives, I feel like, that kind of shape how we think and decisions we make, goals we have. Obviously my dad starting a business and those kind of things, what came from that obviously was a pivotal moment. But another one for me was first time I ever got laid off, right? So I'd started this business when I was in high school, cleaned blinds, right? Like the blinds people have in their house, I cleaned blinds, right? And it was a great little business. I made great money, through high school, way more than any of my other buddies that I knew. Like, sincerely, that was an awesome business for me and my family. But then I got trained, right? I got trained that you go to school, you get a good education, you get a good job, and then you retire and right off into the sunset, you know?
Yeah.
But dude, I go to school for a very short time, and I'm not seeing how that's going to get me to the goals that I have, right? And internally, that was tough for me because everyone says, right, go to school, get a degree, do those things. But like I saw, like, because these, and this is why I'm sincerely so grateful for it, because this isn't something that I knew what I was doing. Like, I didn't sit down and say, okay, my goals are time with family, providing, giving back. Those were like in my, like, to my core because of the experiences that I had, sincerely. So like, I feel like a little bit of that is luck, right? But I had this internal compass where I knew what I wanted, and school wasn't it. I didn't see that happening. And so I got this job, right? It was a great job, made good money. I'm in my early 20s, 21, 22 years old, making six figures. And I was like, I'm killing it, right? My buddies are all struggling through school, and I'm single, making six figures. I have this house that I've bought that my buddies live at, so they're paying my mortgage. And I'm like, I have the money to do what I needed to do, period. Like, I was living, right? Mm-hmm. But then I get laid off from that job. I remember I was snowboarding. I love to snowboard, okay? Well, yeah. I used to love to snowboard. Now I surf, but I was snowboarding back then, right? And I come off the mountain, and I have a voicemail that's now laid me off from my job. And all of a sudden, immediately, another pivotal moment, right? Where I was like, holy shit, I cannot believe is swearing. Can I swear on this show?
You can do whatever you want.
So, you know what? Damn it, Zach, I knew I liked you, man. All of a sudden, I was like, holy shit, man, I can't believe somebody could pull the rug out from underneath me that quick, right? And so now I had this desire to, like, be in control, right? And during that time, this property that I have, my buddy's paying my mortgage, like, I had extra to pay the bills from there too, and be profitable. And I was like, man, dude, real estate could really be an option here. And so I started, still pursuing different avenues. I started an internet business. But any time that I started seeing myself becoming consumed with a business, because I was rooted in, I want to spend time with family, I want to be able to have that financial security, I would course correct, right? I'd course correct. And so I started, this internet business, and once again, made some money. I found ways to make money. I was always curious about making money, and I found ways to make money, but none of those hit my big three, right? Time with family, financial security, giving back. And so I just kept searching. I just didn't stop searching, I guess is the best thing that I could tell you. And started doing some single family flips and some wholesales, and had some rentals. And I wasn't an investor. I was not a real estate investor. I had, an internet business that was making me money. And people told me I should buy real estate. And so I did. That's what was happening. But I also saw, like, the single family space was time consuming. The internet space was time consuming. And then I have my partner now, his name's Ryan Woolley, in my investment business, introduced me to a guy named Dave Lindahl. Have you heard of Dave before?
I have not.
So Dave is big in the multifamily space, has a couple books like Multifamily Millions, Emerging Real Estate Markets, great books. And Ryan told me that he was acquiring multifamily properties. And I was like, apartments? Holy shit. Like, I didn't even know that was possible, And I went to a class, one of Dave's classes, and I learned all about it. And it just, like, clicked. Like, immediately I was like, shit, dude, this can give me the passive income, the security, the wealth, the generational wealth, this is it, And I told you, whenever I would see an opportunity that could get me there, I would dive in full force. And I did. Now that's kind of the rosy.
How old were you at the time?
So that was, got married to my wife when I was 25, still just kind of, running the internet business, doing some single family stuff. I actually started speaking too, and teaching and speaking about real estate, internet. And I really loved that. Really, really loved that. That was a passion too. So then I met Dave probably like when I was 28 or 29, right around there. So right about the same time that I was having my first, so it was 29, 30 years old, because it was right around the same time we had Pax. I have two little kids. Pax is now 5 years old, and my little girl Marley is 3 years old. So it was right around the same time, right? And I see, I know that I'm going to become a dad. I'm working hard, right? And it's easier when it's just you and your wife. She's working hard too. My wife, in the beginning stages, my wife was going to PA school. She's a physician's assistant. And so she was busy, right? In the beginning stages of our marriage, she's busy with school. I'm busy trying to figure out, my side, how I'm going to create this, environment where I can provide for my family. And then we start having kids, right? And that changes. Well, first off, when she got out of school, that changes. Because now all of a sudden, go ahead.
No, I was saying, so when you met her, like y'all are going to get married, did you sit her down and say, hey, this is what I want to do? Like, so there's going to be some sacrifices along the way? Because I'm sure it didn't look like Hawaii day one.
What's funny is we started talking about Hawaii when we first started talking about getting married. We wanted to spend a year with the kids. So I'll get to that. But we wanted to spend a year with the kids before they got into school, unobstructed time. But that was like a pipe dream for me. My wife, I'll tell you right now, my wife dreams bigger than I do. She dreams bigger than I do, which is a great thing.
Yeah. Add that to the list.
And the reason that's great is because she believes I can do anything. I don't necessarily always believe that I can do everything, but she did. And so she would set these goals and just know that I would find a way, right? Which all of a sudden created this, and this is a life hack, by the way, right? All of a sudden it created this responsibility, right? Where people expected me to do great things. And so I felt like I had to do great things. Same thing when my dad left. I was the man of the house. Overnight, bro, I was the man of the house. Yeah. I had to act like the man of the house. That was real for me. All of a sudden I had to do things that I would have never had to do if I had a dad in the home. That's one of the biggest blessings of my life, as crazy as that is, right? Huge blessing. Now, all of a sudden, my wife, who dreams big, and I backtrack a little bit too. I felt like my family expected me to do great things. And so I've always kind of carried that responsibility on my shoulders. So to answer your question, if we sit down and have those conversations, we never sat down and planned and thought about and set goals to live the life that I live right now. It wasn't on my radar, for real, because I didn't even know it was possible, right? Sometimes we set goals with what we think is possible, not necessarily what we want, but what we think is possible. And so that's what we did. We knew that we were hard workers. My wife knew that, time with family was very important to me. I knew that that was important to her. And we always check in and have those conversations. So the whole way through, man, there's times where, you lean too much to one side. You get consumed with work or business or whatever. And having those check-in points to be like, hey, is this getting us down the path to where we want to go, right? And if it is, keep pumping, keep the foot on the gas pedal, because the difference between people who are successful in accomplishing their goals and people who are not is sacrifice. People who are successful sacrifice in the short term to benefit in the long term. But the key is to know what you want in the long term and to determine, is this short-term sacrifice going to get you to where you want to go in the long term? And if it's not, then you need to course correct. If it is, then keep pumping, right? So me and my wife, I'll say, there's zero chance that I'm where I'm at today without my wife. It takes, and I can talk about where I'm at. I mean, man, I'm the managing partner of Multifamily Capital Partners. Okay. And I don't know how everyone grew up. I don't know how your listeners grew up. I don't know what, kind of wealth that they saw, but I'm dead serious. I thought that if I made six figures, 100,000 a year plus, that I would be rolling in it. I did. That was that was the tip top of my goals. And I was making that at 21, 22 years old. And I was like, I felt like I was rolling in it, right? But then it got pulled away. And your goals continue to change, right? But to me, like, that was more wealth, that was more parents had ever made, anyone really in my family had ever made. Mm-hmm. But today, managing partner of Multifamily Capital Partners, it's a privately held company. We buy apartments with it. Right? So, for example, right? Let's say that you have some capital that you want to invest in real estate, but you don't know how to identify a good property. You don't necessarily even want to be a landlord either, right? We partner with you. So we partner your capital with our own capital and the capital of others. And we do all the legwork, right? We run the business, which allows people to benefit from owning real estate without having to deal with the hassle. And being able to find that solution, now as a company, we own over 1,500 units. And in a couple of weeks, we'll close on a deal that will take us over $100 million in assets under management, mm-hmm. which is $100 million it was never, that just baffles me, man. Right. You're catching me at a very fun time in this business, both business-wise and personal life, family life. And that is a goal that I never thought possible, but it's a goal that we've accomplished because my wife dreams big, dude, and my goal is to provide, the life that my family deserves. And if my wife believes that she deserves this, then shit, dude, I got to find a way to do it.
No, it's crazy because like in my younger 20s, I was so protective of my time. Like if I had a girlfriend, I was like, it's just a waste of my time, always. And it wasn't like the person probably would have been good for me, but I was just always like, it's always work, business, focus. And I started to learn that like I was like a hamster wheel, just going in circles. I was never going anywhere. And it's like once I started like kind of opening my heart and giving, I started seeing things like blossom. And so for me, like the fact that you said, you sharing your life with someone and having a bigger purpose with kids and all that, that has actually been the elevation of your success.
Yeah, no question. Things really started taking off for me when we had PAX. That's when all of a sudden it was no longer this. One day things changed for me when I got married to Brittany, mm-hmm. That for sure, not even a question. But then things really started, like traction really started to happen when when we had PAX. And here's why. Because all of a sudden it wasn't, I'll be a dad one day, right? It was, I'm going to be a dad like in January. Holy, and it changes. And, I was making good money then too, right? And there's been ups and downs the whole time, in fact, right at that time, I'll tell you this. This is the key to my success right here. Okay. One of the keys, mm-hmm. but a very, very, very big key. I get laid off at that point. I'm 30 years old. We just had Paxton, and I have reached this pinnacle where I am investing. I say laid off. What I mean by that, I'm investing. I still have, my web business that I'm phasing out of. Mm-hmm. I'm just diving into some other things, but I have this company that I contracted with, right? So I wasn't an employee of theirs, but I contracted with them, and they paid me good money, man. $200,000-300,000 a year to contract with them. That was my biggest client essentially, right? And they pulled the plug I still don't even know why to this day. And I remember sitting on the couch. Dude, I was like in a bad position. I was like, how am I going to tell Brittany this? We just had a kid. Mm-hmm. I'm nervous. Mm-hmm. And she walks in the door. This is my wife, okay? She walks in the door and she's like, "Hey, because I'm a happy dude, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm positive, happy. No matter what, even through the ups and downs, like I'll tell you, I enjoy life and I love life and I love people.
Yeah.
And I always want to carry that around with me. My mom was like that. My mom, the happiest, funniest person I've ever met in my life, man. And even through her toughest times, she just laughed. And she always taught me that, to laugh, because laughter brings happiness, and happiness breeds positivity, and positivity breeds success, wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've always just kind of kept that with me, right? But I was down, dude. I was like, oh man, I don't know what I'm gonna do here, right? And Britt walks in the door and I tell her, man, hey, I lost the contract, man. And she's like, what a dipshit. Those guys are idiots. Those guys are so dumb. Like, what? I'm not worried about it, man. I know you. I know that you're going to battle. I know that you'll find something to better that. That's what I needed.
Yeah.
At that point right there, I didn't need somebody to say, it makes me actually, like, I just got chills. It makes me emotional because I didn't need somebody at that point in my life to say, shit, you better figure it out. We got a kid. Yeah. We got bills. Like, you better figure that out. I didn't need that. I needed somebody to say, hey, you're a badass motherfucker and you're gonna figure this out. I know you will.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm so grateful for that, man. So grateful for that. So I did. And that's really when I started. That's like right around the same time that I dove in full force, man, with investing in multifamily. And that has changed our trajectory. I mentioned earlier that I was grateful for the tough times. I'm also extremely grateful for my dad. I mean, my dad was simply doing the best with what he knew, right? And I'll say this, I certainly don't know everything at all. I'm just, and this is why I love talking about the topic, because I'm just simply, and we can get into some of the things that have helped me, but I'm just simply sharing what I do know and how that has essentially blessed my family. And I made a promise to God that I'll continue to share what I know. And my hope is that anybody listening will continue to do the same. And if we do that and we all commit to doing that, our families will be blessed immensely. I believe that wholeheartedly.
Yeah. So, I mean, part of the audience is our, new multifamily investors, but a lot of part of the audience are probably young like me. I'm 27 years old, not married. So if you were going to give me advice, and say whatever you want, because I'm open ears, and I'm trying to get to a position to where, one day I can lead and provide for and protect my family and create a life that has a sense of purpose, just like you. You made a promise to God. I'm sure I have made the same type of promises. What are some fundamental things that you wish you knew that was like, man, this would have made it a little bit more easier? It sounds like you were blessed along the way with your support of your wife and your upbringing, but things that would have made it a little bit easier.
It's interesting because you go back and you say that you were so like you didn't have time for girlfriends or any of that stuff, right? Because you were so business driven. And I think that I think sometimes the grass is always greener, right? Because I look back at my 20s and I think, man, there's so much time that I squandered. Now, today, I know like what that really means. I know that the minute my kids wake up, it's, shit hits the fan. Like my personal time is like, it just does in the best way. Yeah. You know what I mean? You have to prioritize and you have to be so sensitive of priorities and time. So I wish I would have learned that in my 20s. But balanced, right? Like balance meaning understanding how to have both. I think one of the biggest challenges is that we believe that, I think one of the biggest challenges is actually believing that we can have it all, right? I wish I would have known that in my 20s, that you can have your cake and eat it too. And that challenge is real. And that challenge is real because there will always be times where we have to lean, one way or the other, right? All while trying to stay balanced. And balance is hard,
So speak to me on balance, because
yep.
People say you can't have the cake and eat it too. And I am constantly thinking like, I want it all. I do. I don't know what to tell you. And so, but there's people that'll say you can't have it all. And I'm like, well, I'm not interested in that life then.
Exactly.
So I don't know.
That's how you should be.
I'm struggling. I'm struggling always. So tell me what to do.
So first you define it, right? First you have to define what that is. What does it mean to have it all, right? What does that mean? How do you want your life? What does that mean? This concept is so foreign to people, and it was foreign to me, man. Where this concept of live your life from the future and plan backwards, meaning define what you want and then work backwards from there, right? And determine what that is. And then you only pursue those things that are going to get you there, right? So first you have to define it, because just saying, I want it all, and I know that you don't do that. I'm just saying, like, just saying I want it all, right? You have to truly define what the priorities are. And there's a reason behind that, right? You think of, well, we talk about balance. You think of riding a bike, When you're riding a bike, there are times where you have to lean one way or the other, to stay up and keep moving forward. You have to, but you have to, you have to be very aware and very, very aware of where you're leaning, right? Balancing dad life and business, or balancing dating life and business, is no different, right? There are going to be times where you have to lean one way or the other. You have to favor one way or the other. There's going to have to be sacrifices, right? But to keep moving forward, we have to maintain balance, right? And you do that by becoming extremely aware of what the priorities are, and always checking into those priorities, right? So I'll give you an example of this, okay?
Yeah.
For the longest time, we've talked this whole podcast about, or this whole,
Whatever.
meeting, show, whatever you call it, right? About how my family is the number one priority, but sometimes I forget what that means, right? So, for example, I got in this routine of, I'd wake up early, right? Dive into work, and, trying to build things and grow things. And I'd wake up early, dive into work, and then I would still play with the kids, but I would play with the kids once I was done with work at the end of the day, when I'm not my best self, when I don't have as much patience, right? When when I'm not my best self. And my wife, Brittany is her name, had this conversation. So part of this is staying extremely humble as well. Humble the feedback, which is why I love that your first initial thing that you said is, hey, I'm open ears, man. You tell me, you just tell me, right? I'm open, because that is absolutely key. I knew what my priorities were, which gives me that direction. And then my wife tells me, who I know that she has my best interest at heart, right? Tells me, hey, this is what I see happening. And the next day, I course corrected. The next day it changed. Still woke up early. A morning routine for me is extremely important. It's how you start your day, right? Yeah. So I still wake up early, still do those things. And I can talk about what I do for my morning routine. But the first thing that I do when my kids wake up, so they typically wake up 6:45, 7 a.m., I spend time with them first thing, when I'm my best self. Whether we go on a golf cart ride, or go play catch, or even just eat breakfast and wrestle, or whatever, right? I'm my best self. I at that point, I have the patience and the wherewithal to explore and to give them my number one priority, give them my time. Even if it's a half hour, even if it's an hour, right? It builds deeper relationships on the number one priority. Then I can go dive in on this. I would love to just spend every waking minute with my kids and play all day. That's just not a reality, right, if you're going to continue balanced and moving forward, right? And so then you can dive in and really grind, but you have to just take advantage of the time that you have and believe that you can have it all, right?
So when I said have it all, meant like also I like to be physically fit and work out. I saw that. I saw your Instagram. You do the same. Like, people say, oh, once you get married, you lose your fitness. So I'm like, okay, I see you do it. I'm saying, okay, so what? Yeah, let's get practical here. Walk me through your routine, your schedule, and then, like, when do you spend time with your kids versus, okay, I need to be focused on work, but then focus on my wife. Just really practical. I would love to see your schedule of the day.
Okay, let me tell you what it was in my 20s first off. Even when me and my wife were married before I had kids, right? My work stuff was like, sometimes I would just have like a week or two off where I wouldn't have to do anything, right? And during those times, even if it was a few days off, I would literally wake up in the morning. My whole morning routine was stretching, eating a good breakfast, pre-workout, stretching again, getting ready to go to the gym. Dude, you don't have that in real life, right? So all of a sudden things changed and I was like, holy shit, I don't have a whole morning to go to the gym, but I love fitness and I love feeling physically fit. And I think that is extremely important as well, right? So here's my routine now.
Yeah.
It's always checking in. This is never like, a one size fits all type thing. This is different for each person and it's different for each moment in your life, right? But it's always checking into what it is. So my routine now is I wake up at 4:15. I'll walk you through the whole routine. Wake up at 4:15. First thing that I do, wash my face, brush my teeth so that I actually wake up. Because if I don't, then I'm just still feels tired. Mm-hmm. But I wake up with purpose, right? And my purpose, I know what I'm doing. There's not a guess of like, well, hey, what should I go do? I've set that the night before. Plus now it's a routine. I don't even have to think about it, right? Which is also important because these routines that benefit our lives, it eliminates this cloudy, clouded mind, right? I have this autopilot that I go on. Wake up 4:15, brush my teeth, wash my face, drink a bottle of water. Then I say, a prayer. And it's a prayer of gratitude, thanks only. I say thank you, and I ask for blessings for somebody else, right? That's the routine. Nothing for myself at that point at all. I ask for those things later, right? But in the morning, gratitude, and it's giving back. One of the things that you said was you found that when you gave back, right? That is a wealth principle, period. Providing value. The key to acquiring wealth is providing value. If you can always provide value, you'll always be able to create wealth. And it's also gratitude. Gratitude's a trick. So I trick my mind in the morning. It doesn't matter what. I don't check my phone, right? I used to check my phone, and whatever was on my phone or in my inbox dictated, my attitude or my direction for the day. I don't check my phone for like the first hour and a half plus. I say the prayer. I write down 3 targets for the day, the 3 things I'm going to focus on for that day. I write down 3 things that I'm grateful for, like actually write them down. I write down my goal, right? I write down my goal 2 times a day, morning, my goals, right? Morning, nighttime, sometimes 3 times. Like if it's a tough day or things get off track, I write it down again because that's the most important time to remember your goals, right? And so I've written down, so within the first 10 minutes of the day, I've started my day with perspective and gratitude. And then I dive into, I want to be able to accomplish mental, physical, and spiritual growth before my kids wake up. So spiritual growth, praying, meditating, mental growth, I'll read for at least 30 minutes. As I get gym clothes on first thing. Now I go surfing every morning. So I immediately put my swimsuit on, right, and get everything ready to go surf. Read 30 minutes while I'm, whether listening to an audio book or whatever, while I'm heading down to the beach. And I'm surfing. I'm on the water surfing by 5:30, 5:45 every morning, and I surf for, about, at that point maybe about 45 minutes or so. Or I'll go to the gym. It just kind of depends, but most of the time lately I've been surfing. And then I get back to the house at 6:30, 6:45. My kids are waking up. Time to play with my kids. So in the morning, when most people are still sleeping because they say that they don't have time, I'm my best self because I'm not just waking up when my kids wake up. Yeah. I have taken care of myself. You have to take care of yourself if you're going to be your best self. When I just sleep in, it's not even hard for me. And I'm on a rant right now. And it's because I'm passionate about this.
Keep going.
It's like, when I just sleep in and then my kids wake me up, I'm not my best self. I'm still foggy. I don't have that foundation. But man, think about that. I am taking care of myself. I'm mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, right? And when I walk in the door, my kids wake up, I'm my best happy self because I'm grateful and focused and just excited to show them how much I love them. It's a game changer for me in my life.
You got me fired up. Wait, so your wife's schedule, I'm assuming, is not the same. Your morning routine.
Nope. It's funny because when I first started the morning routine, so I'll tell you another thing about my wife, right? I told her, I was like, okay, I want to start waking up. Then it was 4:30.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to wake up at 4:30. And I tell her that. And she's like, wow, 4:30. Holy shit, okay. So 4:30 comes, right? And I struggled to get to bed that night. And my alarm goes off. And I was like, jeez, I need more sleep. And so my alarm goes off, I push snooze. And my wife says, hey, Tyler, it's 4:30. I know you said you wanted to wake up. And I was like, oh, yeah, but I didn't sleep very well last night. I think I need more sleep. And she says, well, I know that you feel like you need more sleep now. Of course you do. But you made a commitment, a decision to wake up at 4:30 last night, which means it's 4:30. You should wake up because you made a decision and a commitment to do that last night. And I was like, holy shit, man.
She holds you accountable.
There's this guy named, she totally does. And there's this guy named Inky Johnson. He says,
I know who he is.
Yeah, dude, Inky, he is a stud.
I love him.
Oh, I love it. And he says, commitment means staying committed to what you said you were going to do long before the mood you set it in has left, right? Which means in the morning when you're still tired, you wake the F up. And my wife keeps me accountable to those things, right? But she wasn't waking up at 4:30. She had zero desire until she saw the impact that it had on my life. Mm-hmm. Until she saw, literally it changed me as a person. And so now she wakes up too. We just have a little bit different routine. She'll work out in the house, and we switch, right? So sometimes there'll be days where she likes to go paddling, like she's a part of a canoe club, and they go super early as well. Yeah. So she'll go out and go paddling, but she wakes up, man, same time, and reads. She listens. She reads the scriptures. First thing, has a similar type of routine,
right,
before the kids wake up. So
yeah. That's awesome, man. So much information. So I mean, we'll wrap it up soon, but. So you go through the day. I think a question for me is, do you ever feel, maybe it can be an insecurity or a void, being like, the family may need you, but you're like, I need to, the work is not going to do itself in multifamily real estate, or vice versa. I just feel like yeah, you can, be practical step by step, but sometimes you have to go all in. And sometimes I feel like I'm losing if I'm not going all in.
Yeah. This is abundance versus scarcity, right? An abundant mentality versus a scarcity mentality, because a scarcity mentality believes that by prioritizing, time with family, that actually hurts us, right? That's what a scarcity mentality thinks. And that is real, man. Yeah. Because, and dude, trust me, it's a lot easier to just talk about it, right? But I have to check in with this kind of stuff all the time. But I believe it to my core, right? An abundant mentality is this, and this is the difference with that. An abundant mentality is essentially simply believing that we can have both, like we talked about, right? But here's what I mean by that. We have to set boundaries, right? We have to, the key to that is setting your boundaries, defining it, right? Set your priorities, set your standards, and speak about those regularly. Let people know what those are. People only treat us how we expect to be treated. So what you'll find, and what I've found, is they actually respect, you don't lose opportunities because you've set boundaries. People respect you because you set boundaries, not the other way around. And I'll give you an example. It's this is a perfect example. We have this babysitter that comes over, and she, but me and my wife, we just talked about a morning routine, right? And so we love to go surfing together, but it's the best time to go surfing is first thing in the morning, right? Mm-hmm. And so we were like, hey, and they live in the same neighborhood. So we're like, hey, how would you feel, about this? Just happened during this summer. How would you feel about, coming over early? The kids are still going to be asleep. So you can just come sleep on the couch, right? And the kids are probably going to be asleep really until the time we get back, but we need somebody here, obviously. Yeah. And so you think about that. She's 14, by the way, 14. Very few 40-year-olds have this type of self-worth, right? Here's what she says. She says, the earliest that I'll do is 6:30. And it's $15 an hour per kid per hour. So $15 per kid per hour. She's 14. She had a boundary set. So Some people might think that's $30 an hour to come sit on the couch. No. I respect the hell out of that. And we pay her $30 an hour starting at 6:30, these days that she can, to come in because she sets a boundary, right? But here's the thing. The only way that that's going to work is if you when it's time to work, that you grind, right? When she's at the house and she's babysitting, dude, she is the best, man. She is the best. She is fully all in. Same thing with work, dude. When it is time to be all in for work, you're all in. I mean, there are very few people that work harder than I do, and I know that. I say that not in a cocky way. I say that in a that's what sets me apart, because during these times, which is inevitable during any time you're growing, you're going to be thinking, shit, can I really do that? Like, we have a goal to have $1 billion of assets under management and to be making 7 figures of cash flow monthly. That's one of our real estate goals for my investment company, right? That's a big, lofty goal. And there's times where I'm like, man, can I really do that, right? And am I worthy of that, right? And these times of like, I struggle with what's called Imposter Syndrome, meaning, yeah, you know what that is, right? Yeah.
I had it for a while. I still do, but like I really had it bad.
No, totally. It's crazy because anytime that I know when I'm growing, when I'm growing because I feel it, right? But I don't run from it. One of my first mentors told me, dude, don't run from that, right? Like address it, attack it, sit down at that point when you feel like that, and address and acknowledge all the hard work that you put in to get to where you're at, and that'll help you understand why you're worthy of it, right? So that's what helps me mentally. When it's time to work, I grind. I work hard, period. And when it's time to be with family, I spend time with family, man. And I'll tell you, an example of this. And it's hard to know. It's really, this is what I'm telling you, man. It is hard to really know what's right? But it's trial and error, period. Like, for example, this weekend, we're starting an education. We're launching a new company. We're closing on 3 properties. It's busy, okay? And I had to get some work done. And my family wanted to go. Hotels just opened up out here in Maui, and they wanted to go to a hotel for the weekend and, play at the pool and do all those kind of things. And I would rather go and down to the hotel and play with the pool. But I knew I had to get work done. And so I didn't. I stayed and I grinded while my family was playing. That's not easy to do ever. And I don't know if that was the right decision or not. I don't. It's a trial and error It's a trial and error process to see what works and what doesn't. And it is checking in continually. Me and Brittany in my calendar, okay? Every morning is time with kids. Every Tuesday night, today's Tuesday night at 6 o'clock, we go on a date. Every Tuesday. It's non-negotiable, right? Date night. So that we check in and we see what's happening and where we're progressing and what we need to change. And we have that open dialogue, right? It's not from a position of judgment. It's a position, we have the same goals. We want the same things. How can we get there? And it's hard to check pride at the door sometimes, right? It just is. But like, you have to do it, right? And every Wednesday afternoon, no matter what, Wednesday, 12 o'clock on, I do not do anything except go and explore with family. No matter what I have on my plate, that doesn't change. I have to put it on my calendar. If it's on my calendar, it happens, right? You have to set the priorities and put it on there. Plan for it.
So it seems like you put in calendar time with family in the calendar.
Yeah, especially when I feel like things for me go in, feast and famine. Like things get really busy. And then things don't, right? Yeah. A year ago, we moved to Maui. That was a goal that we had for a long time. I never even thought that it would be a possibility, right? It was just to disconnect, spend time with family, unadulterated time right before my kids got into school. So a year ago, it didn't need to be on the calendar. A year ago, we closed on two properties, 415 units and 122 units. From January 2019 to May 2019, one of the busiest times of my life, for sure. And I was also speaking. Dave Lindahl has a class and I would go and I would teach this 3-day class, which is one of my passions, right? So it was
Mm-hmm.
busy. But end of May, 1st of June, we moved to Maui. From June to January, I didn't do anything but hang out with family, period. We went, literally, our routine was that, I did. I'd wake up in the morning, get a little bit of work done. Come 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock every day, we would drive somewhere to go on an adventure. And literally that was every day, because that was a priority. That's a goal that we had set, right? And then January, we closed on another deal. So I had a little bit of time where I was grinding, and and then quarantine happened.
Yeah. It's funny because I grew up playing competitive golf, and so whenever people are working on the golf swing, they're like, I figured it out. But right when you figure it out, there's something else to fix. And so this golf announcer, Brandel Chambly, he said, golf is like your head's cold when you're sleeping in bed, you pull up the cover, but now your feet are cold. So then 10 minutes later, you cover your feet, but now your head's cold. So it's constantly ebbs and flow. And it seems like kind of like you make decisions. You don't know if it's right or wrong. It's like, all right, right now it's work, but I don't know if I made the right decision. Then later on, it's like family, and we don't know. I don't know. I never know if I'm making the right decision, but it's kind of like, I'd rather just die on my word. And just how you made a promise, you're going to wake up 4:30. Maybe that's not the right decision for your health. I don't know. But everyone has their own thing, but it's like, I'd rather just die on my word.
For sure. And here's the thing. It is, and I think this is the difference too, right? Decisions. So it's always a check-in point, right? But decisions aren't permanent. Nothing's permanent. You make a decision and you see how that works, right? You stay committed to it. So
right.
This is where people struggle, is they make a commitment to do something, say wake up at 4:15, right? And then in the morning at 4:15, it doesn't feel like the right thing because they feel uncomfortable, right? That's what we call the dip, right? That's like the tough part. People always think it's going to be that hard. You have to get through the point, and this is the tough balancing act, right? Getting to the point where it's no longer hard, it's a routine. But then in this portion, once you're through the dip, right, the learning phase, making a decision, is this putting me on the path to where I want to go? Or is this just something that I'm doing because I said that I was going to do it, right? And you have to check in. And no decision is once again, no decision is permanent. You can always change. If I make a decision and something doesn't work, it's not, I learn from it and make different decisions, right?
Right.
I used to be so scared of failure. I would rather not know success than to know failure. For a long time, man. That's ridiculous. That's a huge price to pay. So the key is making decisions. Don't beat yourself up. Know that you're just trying to do the best that you can do.
I beat myself up so much. It's bad.
No, trust me. I get it. I get it. That's where
I'm trying to learn how to get out of it, but it's my next challenge for sure.
It's because you're a performer, man. And here's what happens with performers, like achievers. Achievers, we set goals and dude, you're a competitive golfer. That takes practice and patience and consistency, and that is, do you kind of have like an obsessive? Do you kind of have like an obsessive or an addictive personality?
I told someone the other day I'm a drug addict who's never done drugs.
I think most achievers are. We have these addicting personalities because we set these goals and we're meant to achieve these goals. And you should achieve goals, but the key is progress, right? It is progress. And the more that I study about the mind, the more I realize that's actually like how dopamine is released. Dopamine, the journey is where that's where the most amount of dopamine is released, is when our minds are like, yes, you're moving in the right direction. Not that you've achieved something, but you're moving in the right direction. Your mind's freaking releasing dopamine, keep going there.
Yeah.
Here's what happens. You accomplished that goal. And if that goal was that was the end all be all, did you actually accomplish the goal and have some moments of like you're kind of let down a little bit, right? You're kind of like, shit, what's next? I actually experienced that, man. I experienced that a few months after we had moved to Maui. That was the goal that I had for the longest time, to be in a position to move my family to Maui, man, and just take a step back.
Yeah.
And then I realized that, and I loved it. Oh my God, I'm so grateful for it, man, beyond more than I could ever tell you. But I realized, like, progress that's true happiness to me. I want to always be progressing. I want to always be growing. The minute that I'm not growing, I'm not happy. And my wife knows that too. Like, and she's like that. I want to grow. Yeah. So don't beat yourself up. As long as you're growing, pat yourself on the back, dude. Give yourself some credit and keep growing, you know?
Yeah, it's funny because, like, growing up when I was 16, I would always see the Ironman Championship in Hawaii. And I was like, man, one day I want to do that. So I did Ironman Texas last year. I completed it, did well. But when I finished, it was a sense of like, that's it. But like not till months after, I reflected and I was like, what I was most proud of was like looking back at all the videos and the training sessions. And I was like, how much I grew. I was like, I remember crying during a swimming session. I was like, I can't do this and all that. And so that's when you say that now, I truly understand what you mean by that.
Yeah. Good for you, man. That's a big feat, dude. An Ironman, that's no joke, dude. That's no joke.
No, but that was good. So, I mean, we could talk for hours, so I have to like cut us off. But, you know, thank you so much. And just like one last question I would say is, you know, everything you've shared but something I've been asking every single guest is, you know, when you look back on your career, your family, what you kind of build, this little empire, and it's going to keep on growing, what are you most proud of?
Yeah, good question. It's a solid question. Overcoming fear, you know, overcoming fear and self-doubt, because throughout the whole journey, people will put you into this frame. I don't know, this box, right? And that's who they think you are. That's where they think you belong. And it's so easy to accept that and stay in the box, you know? And so it's overcoming fear. It's overcoming fear to believe that I can do great things and keeping my family a priority, you know, finding ways to utilize, you know, the talents that I'm creating work-wise, find ways for that to be multi-beneficial, right? So I told you, like, I love speaking, right? I love teaching. I do. It's like, it is a passion. I love it, man, to my core. And so as I was growing that skill for my business, right, I started finding ways that I could use that skill with my family, right? And so every night I tell stories, right? That's my routine. I tell stories to my kids every night. And that's something that I'm pretty good at, and something that has made me connect with them. And it's allowed me to grow in both areas. I don't have to worry about, you know, should I really be spending time honing in this skill of speaking, storytelling, whatever? Yeah, because it's going to benefit my business and my family, you know. And when you do that, essentially, and this is what I'm most proud of, I think, man. Understanding and continually checking in to my goals and staying rooted to my purpose, and knowing that by accomplishing my goals, and even though I'm spending time, you know, with business or whatever it is, by accomplishing my goals and achieving my goals and achieving financial freedom, I can be home more, right? I can have increased quality of time and you know, maintain a desired lifestyle, and continually keeping the faith that I no longer needed to trade one for another, right? But those go hand in hand. And that's, it takes dedication and patience and a team of people surrounding you to help you with that. And, you know, if you would ask a question earlier, and then I'll wrap this up, like you'd ask a question earlier, what would I have done different in my 20s or whatever, right, to prepare me for where I'm at now? I would have married Brittany when I was 15. Brittany is where I'm at. I am who I am because of Brittany, man. She is just a perfect combination of support and love and I'm super grateful for that. So.
Yeah. So, we talk about fear. I was fearful even just reaching out to you and bringing up, hey, I would like to talk about this topic, because like I could have taken the easy road and just talked about a traditional, operational tactic of multifamily. And I was like, well, kind of just seeing his Instagram feed, I kind of want to talk about this topic because it's kind of like in my heart and I want to talk about it. And I just would have never known like how I used to view social media so differently. Now it's like, it's a tool to really connect with people, and how this came out of just that.
Bro, I do podcasts all the time, and I don't even tell Brittany about them. I don't even mention them, right? It's just like I do them all the time. I immediately went home and I was like, Britt, dude, look at this topic, man. I'm going to talk about balancing work and family, business and family. Like, I love that Zach asked me to do this, right? And we talked about it and how awesome it was, right?
Yeah.
So, bro, yeah, that's awesome. I loved the topic. I loved that you asked me to do it. I'm grateful that you asked me to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, please tell Brittany I'm thankful for that.
I will.
Just for everything. I was just you sharing her and everything. And I'm sure when people get to look back, they'll get to see at least a foundational blueprint of, to help people in their path of, balancing family and their career and everything. And you can, just on the first 2 minutes on the phone with you, I was like, man, this guy's high energetic and positive. So I'm going to like him.
Thanks, man.
So,
I appreciate that. That's a huge compliment. I appreciate that a ton.
Yeah, so I appreciate it. So where can people find you? Where can people learn more about you, invest with you in the future?
Yeah, so any Instagram handle or Facebook, it's Tyler, Tyler _Deveraux, DEVERAUX, or just go to my website. My website is MF, is in multifamily, mfcapitalpartners.com. But yeah, reach out, send an email. More than willing to connect and help and open up doors any way that I can. So
awesome. Well, Tyler, very humble and grateful that you got to do this. And this was the first topic like this, and so I'm glad I got to spend it with you. And we definitely went longer than expected, but not a problem.
No worries.
I enjoyed it. Awesome. Well, I appreciate it, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, man. Take care.
All right, take care.